Hello, my name is Kate, and I would like to talk about my experience in Atlanta so far. So far, the only thing I like, kind of, is my job. Since I moved here on April 13th from New York City, it's been pretty much a nightmare for the most part. There's been instances where it's been cool, it's been alright, it's been peaceful, I can say that. But if you're gonna come down here, one, make sure you do your research. Two, make sure for sure that you have an interview set up when you get down here, when you first get out here. So you can just knock that out the way, see if you get hired, but keep at least, make sure you at least go to two interviews within your first week of moving here. Um, Make sure you have more than, I would say, at least $800, very least. Cause I came down here with 300, and no, I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. If it's like an emergency situation, people will definitely take advantage of that. Um, Craigslist, be careful when you're looking for a place to stay, because Craigslist, you will find, or they will find you if you're the one who's posting. They will prey on you because of the fact that you're coming from out of town. And if you're coming from a place like where I came from, which is New York City, they'll definitely like take advantage of the fact that you're from out of town and you don't really know how the southern life is. So, like I said before, I moved here on the 13th of April. I took an Amtrak train here from Penn Station, and it took me just shy of 18 hours. It was like 17 hours and 50 minutes. And I wouldn't recommend anyone taking Amtrak to come down here. If you're coming from up north, best bet, if you're gonna drive, you can drive. But being on the train ride is not bad. It stops well enough in between times for either maintenance, to get gas, to make sure everything is okay. But at the same time, when you're stuck on that train overnight and people are farting in their sleep and you're uncomfortable because you can't like really stretch yourself out, like, but I can say you can definitely charge your phone the entire time, or whatever electronic device you use. You can definitely do that, because by every seat they have outlets. And definitely bring your own food if you are gonna take the train. I bought two hero sandwiches and some Pringles and some water and stuff, and that pretty much lasted me till I got to where I had to get to in Atlanta. And if you're coming here non-driving, do not, I repeat, do not take a regular cab. Cabs out here are overpriced, and you could just take an Uber. Like, pretty much everyone knows how to use Uber. Pretty much everyone has like a bank card or a credit card nowadays. So they don't take regular debit cards like that. But if you have a bank card or or a credit card, they'll definitely take you. And yeah, Uber is a godsend when it comes to down here, because on my first day, I was going to the southern region of Atlanta from the Amtrak station over on Peachtree. And when I went and asked the cab driver how much would it be to go to that location, he told me $45 to $50. I said no, absolutely not. Fuck out my face. No. Went to the next cab driver, asked him the same question. He said the same thing, $40 to $50. And I'm like, why? It's only 20 minutes away. You should only charge me $20. And he was like, no, out here we charge $2 per mile, and it's $2.50 just to get into the cab. So if you had to go 10 miles away, it will cost you $22.50. But I guess since I was going 20 miles away, it was about 45 $50 or whatever. And I felt it was worth it. So the person who I had contacted, who's supposed to be my potential landlord or whatever, I had been speaking to him and his wife for about a week or so. I was letting them know. I was like, listen, I'm coming to Atlanta. At first, I was only supposed to come for 2 weeks. That was my original intention when I first looked at the place. I was only supposed to come for 2 weeks, see if I can get a job down here, and then go back home to New York, and then pack to come actually to Atlanta for real, for real. But life happened, so I ended up having a one-way ticket, and so they already knew that I was coming. And so I called him and I told him I have no way of getting to you because of the fact that the cabs are too much, and I don't know how to like travel via bus over here. So he was like, oh, well, there's a roommate here. He does Uber, blah, 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 blah. I'll have him come pick you up. So about 30 minutes later, my new roommate comes picks me up. And as he's driving me to the house where the rooms are at, he warns me that we have no kitchen, and all the rooms that are being rented out to are in the basement. So I was like, what do you mean there's no kitchen? Like, because, you know, in New York, as with everywhere else, they do room renting for like maybe like $150 a week, $160 a week, whatever, or more. But they all come with the basic necessities, which is a bathroom and which is the kitchen. Yes, you have to share, but it's whatever. So when he told me that it's ridiculous how much he spends on food a week, I was like, you can't be serious. He's like, I'm very serious. And I'm like, okay. And he said that he has to wash his cup in the bathroom sink because of the fact that there's no kitchen, and that you can manage if you buy one of them dorm fridges from them, or if you buy yourself a hot plate. And I'm like, that doesn't seem right to me. Like, that was like a first red flag for me. And then when I got there was no landlord. He wasn't there. I guess he went somewhere or something. So I unpacked all my stuff. I noticed there's no TV. And yeah, the room was quite large. But the bed was old. The sheet was practically ripped on it. The headboard was not attached to it. There was a reclining chair, and there was a couch in the room, and like one dresser. But the room was cold because basements they keep, they don't keep heat. They're not really insulated like how they're supposed to, unless you're a person who's about your shit when it comes to your house. So I guess they weren't about their shit like that, because the house, you could still tell that it was going through a remodeling phase, right? Like, the basement was pretty much done from what I saw. But when I seen he was telling the truth, because the whole first floor, because it was like almost like a ranch style house, but in like a weird way it's not. And there's like little stairs that go up to the main part of the house. And then there was the stairs that led to the little bit of stairs that led to the basement. And my room was the first door when you come in on the left. And so I unpack, and then like I take a nap. By the time I wake up, the landlord comes to me and it was like, okay, we have to go to Walmart to go make your keys. And I'm like, but you told me over the phone that the key was already here and it was already made and you had it under one of the flower pots in front. When I went and looked, it wasn't there. So in my head, that's red flag number two. So when we on the wall in the car on our way to the Walmart, I asked him, I was like, okay, so what's this I hear about there being no kitchen? He was like, oh, well, when we get back to the house, I'll show you why there's no kitchen, whatever, whatever. So I was like, okay, swept it under the rug for a second. And then so as we're on our way to the Walmart, and I told him, okay, it's a good thing we're going to Walmart. I need to go to the ATM. I need to take this money out so I could give you your 270. He's like, 270? You owe me 330. And I'm like, no, I do not. I He was like, yes, you do. And I was like, no, I do not. Because I asked you for the room that was $135 a week. And 135 plus 135 equals 270. He was like, no, you're in the 165 a week room. And I'm like, I'm looking at him like, that room is nowhere near worth 165. Especially since there's no TV in it and there's no kitchen. No, it's no. And then he was like, well, that's how much it is. There must have been some type of mix up. And I'm like, well, not on my end, because that's exactly what I texted you when I first hit you up. For those who are looking on Craigslist for a room, if you see that it's a room that says 135 a week or 140 a week, and it says Riverdale, and you look in the little square part where you go to reply at, if you see a name that says Mr. P and it says to call or text, do not go for that person. He's the one with the blurry ass pictures. Do not go for him. He's a fucking shady ass motherfucker who think he can get over on people and think he could do shit that he cannot do if you know your rights about housing. Okay, so yeah, back to the story. So that's what happened to me day one. I had my friends come over later on that night, and I gave him the $300, and then I took my money back. I took half of it. I took about 135 of it back, and told him I'm only gonna stay for the 1 week because I only had $3 left to my name, and you cannot live off of $3. And I had a job interview the next day. I definitely couldn't do it. But so I told him I wanted my money, some of my money back. I wanted them from the $300, and he gave it to me. But when he gave it to me, he had a little bitch attitude, which is something like, I was like, you know what? Let me keep my New York attitude in New York. Let me not turn up on this motherfucker. Let me just not say nothing and just let that be that or whatever. And then so my friends come over, and the guy I was talking to came over later on that night. Him and his nosy ass wife go and open their curtain to see who's outside. If it's not your people, don't worry about it. Like he was literally peeking through for like a good minute. And then as I'm trying to get into my room, because he gave me 2 keys, so I'm thinking that one of the keys was for my room. Turns out that that key does not unlock the room. It's for both locks in the front door. And he was like, oh, so you're locked out of your room? Try giving it a hard turn. So boom, my best friend was like, oh hell no, you need to get the fuck out this house, because that means you can be locked in but you cannot be locked out. So if he wants to go in your room at any point in time while you're not home, he can go in your room at any point in time while you're not home and go through your shit and see what you have. So that was like, okay, I have to leave here as soon as I can. And then next day happened. I go to my job interview, get the job. at the airport. And another thing that is not told to you from these YouTube videos about moving here, because most of them are out of date, the minimum wage here as of June 2nd, 2016, the minimum wage here in Atlanta is $7.25. And there are a lot of places that are hiring, but they are hiring to pay you $7.25 per hour. But they want to work you like a dog, right? So that's the current situation. And so I went, my roommate went and took me to the job, got the job, whatever, whatever. He took me to the seafood place over in College Park. College Park Crab Pot. They're really good. You should try them out. Their prices is decent. And next day he went. My roommate went to go get his girlfriend. When he got her, they took me around the city because she's coming from Alabama, and they was talking about the situation of how the house is. Mind you, that's day 3 now. There's still no kitchen. I have to eat cold food that I had that was warm from the day before. You can't store nothing, so you can't like buy cereal, buy milk. You can't even make yourself a cup of coffee. Can't even make yourself a cup of tea. You can drink some water. You can drink some soda, something that you could keep cool. And I told the landlord, I had texted him and I had told him I'm a very anemic person, so I can't deal with the cold. And at that time, it was still early April, so it was still a bit nippy out. It was like about 40 something at night, 60 something in the daytime if it wasn't raining. And so he barely took heed to it. Like, he turned the heat on, but like once every 2.5 hours for like 10-20 minutes. And that was it. So you're still like super cold. And thank God I brought my own sheets. So I was like kind of okay, but I was still like really, really cold. Like I had to use my blow dryer to warm my socks in order to at least have my feet warm. So that way I wouldn't get a foot cold. And so by Saturday, I was already had my mind made up that I had to leave because I was speaking with my roommates the night before. They said they were leaving the next day, and because you just can't deal with it anymore. Like living in a place where there's no kitchen. Yeah, the bathroom was nice, but there was no kitchen and there's no TV, so you're just sitting there bored and you're cold, which is like even worse. So I was like pretty much fed up at that point by day 4. And so I was already packing up my stuff. I woke up early. I woke up like 9 o'clock, packed up my stuff, and then I heard the roommate putting his suitcases and stuff in his car. So what I did, I opened my door and I said hello to him and his best friend, girlfriend, whatever. And then so as I was doing so, I heard the landlord trying to talk to him, and it was talking about money, like. And then the landlord tried to tell the dude that the dude owed him 2 days rent because dude moved in on the Thursday and he's trying to leave on a Saturday. And the guy was like, "No, I don't owe you anything. I pay you on time every time. I always pay you on a Saturday. I never pay you on a Thursday." And so he brung out his receipts because the landlord tried to bring out his receipts, try to like play like he's such a businessman. He's all facts. Bullshit, 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 bullshit. So after that situation happened, I let it happen. They'll resolve it in whatever way they resolved it. And the guy came to me and told me that the guy tried to get over on him. So me being the type of person I am, I'm gonna have my opinion. And I was in my room with the door closed. And this man is listening to everything that I am saying as I'm talking to my roommate. That has nothing, like, I was not speaking to you. Why is your ears in my mouth? So he came and knocked on my door after the roommate left and was like, "Oh, I'm gonna need you to pack your stuff, and I'm gonna need you to leave like ASAP because you're talking about me and disrespecting me in my own home." And I'm like, "Well, that's fine. Just let me. I'll leave the keys. Sorry." On the ledge where you can find them and you can put the money under the door because I don't have anything else to say to you. And he was like, "No, you're gonna open the door now. You're gonna give me my key in my hand, and I will give you both your receipt and your money." And I was like, "Okay, fine." So, dude didn't even give me a chance to shower late. I didn't even get the chance to shower, and dude like up and told me to open my door, like. And then he had his wife there, like it was supposed to like make it seem like something, and it really didn't. And she was the calm one, like nigga was talking. Sorry, I used the N word. Dude was like popping off at the mouth, and I'm like, dude, you're like at least 10 years older than me, and you popping off at the mouth, talking about how I'm talking about you, and I'm just like, why are you in my mouth? Because I wasn't talking to you. I might have been talking about you, but I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to my roommate because you was trying to get over on him, just like you trying to get over on people, and everything you're doing is not up to code. You're renting out rooms in a basement, and you're robbing people of their basic necessity, which is the ability to live comfortably and to have a place to eat. And then secondly, I had two extra doors in my room. One led to the laundry room slash storage room slash projects that they never fucking finished. Two was the door that had this type of shit on it. On the door. It was like a door that had whatever this shit or whatever. There was no glass behind it. It was just this. So there was a boiler behind that door. And that's a safety hazard. No one is supposed to be living in a room where there's a boiler. You feel me? Because that's gas. Anything dealing with gas, you're not supposed to be around it because it can cause health problems, internal issues, whatever, whatever, whatever. And so I told him that, and then the wife was like, "Oh, well, we didn't mean anything malicious, blah, 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 blah." And I'm like, I understand you had no ill intent, and you was trying to do what you felt was right based off of what your husband was telling you. But I'm telling you right now, because my grandmother's a landlord, what your husband is doing is not right. And he was still popping off at the gums, and he was like, "Oh, I don't even know why I'm even arguing with you, blah, 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 blah." And I'm like, I don't know why either, because you're wrong. You told me the rent was a price that I did not request, making me pay an extra $30, and there's no TV, there's no kitchen, and I can't even really eat like that because of the fact that there's no place to eat at, and there's nothing to heat up food, not even make a cup of tea. And I was like, "But you want to cut down my room in a couple months if I stay, so that way the price will go down to 120." And I was like, "You see that couch right there? It's ripped up. The carpet that is in here, this nasty ass carpet with all these purple spots on it, that's not from me. That it looked like you tried to do some bullshit ass excuse for cleaning the carpet, which didn't work because it left stains. And there's no TV. It's dusty. The recliner had a big ass white spot on it, and it's cold. But yet you wanna charge me, and then you have the nerve to go and post on Craigslist yesterday before I even left the house. Like, at least let me spend my week before posting up another app." It was like, "Oh, well, we had other people." Okay, if you had other people, why are you posting on Craigslist? Clearly you don't have nobody else. So what I did, I left with the roommate and his girl. We went to extended stay. It took us like 2 hours to find an extended stay within our price range. I came out of pocket $83. He came out of pocket $200, and we shared a small ass room for the next week or so. It was a nightmare because them two was arguing all the time because they like to talk shit about each other behind each other's back, especially the guy. Like to talk shit about each other behind each other's back, saying how they're this, they're that, they're not this, they're not that, blah blah blah. But they're still a nice person, blah blah blah. And it was a nightmare. They was arguing every day, multiple times a day. And he on Tuesday he tried to kick on the Tuesday of that week that we was there. He tried to kick us out, and I'm like, hello, dude. I put in money, and I got the other key. You're not kicking me out. Sorry, just because you got in an argument with your girl. And then she was crying. She fucked that nigga up. I have to say it like that. She fucked him up. Like she beat the shit out of him, choked him. I was like, girl, you gotta stop. Don't be choking on him because of the fact that he's already a sick man. He already has a missing trachea from being ran over by a car or whatever, or truck, whatever bullshit, whatever. So I'm not gonna be an accomplice to you killing him. So she stopped. So that put me on the search. I was already on the search for another place, but at first I had agreed to moving into a place with them until I seen how horrible that would have been of an idea. And then so I had put an ad on Craigslist because I was not finding anything that I was feasible to do. I only had $130 left, and that was all I had. I had after I had gotten the $70 back from leaving a week early, plus the money I already had or whatever. So I put on Craigslist saying that I needed a place to stay, and I needed to move in by Saturday because that's when our week was up. And some guy found me after a couple of spam people found me, whatever. But a guy, he seemed legit. He found me. He was like, "Oh, you can see the place today. I'll come and pick you up from the hotel extended stay, and I'll come show you the room." So I was like, "Okay, I'll be ready in like an hour or two." So he came and got me. It was some older dude by the name of Kenneth Lyles, and I am saying his name because that man, that man, or lack thereof, I should say. Well, he came and picked me up. We spoke a little bit. He was telling me about his rules in the house, how he operates everything, what the room comes with. And so I was like, okay, it sounded like a real good deal for the amount that I'm going to be paying every week. So I went and saw the room. Room was gorgeous. It was a lavender room, which is one of my favorite colors besides sky blue. And it had a little, maybe I'll say like 22 inch TV. I didn't care that I didn't have cable. It was just basic antenna TV. And there was Wi-Fi internet. My room was shaped like a L. So in the big part of the room, in the middle was a bed, an actual bed. It was a bed with a headboard that had shelves on it. It had a beautiful, nice blanket on it with 4 pillows, and it had drawers on the side of the bottom part of the bed. It was a platform bed. It was a fireplace in the room that had been covered up. There was a nightstand, a chair on the side of the bed, plus there was like about 2 lamps on that side. And then of course there was a door that led to outside because it used to be a living room. And then more towards the left, towards the wall, was a window, a shelf, and another more like an office type of setup, type of organizer dresser thingy. And then there was a regular big dresser where you could put your clothes in, and it had like a little jar on it where you could put, where it was big enough to fit photos in. And then there was a beautiful ornate stained glass lamp and then there was a little bar with two stools next to it, and then behind the bar was a desk with a chair attached, and behind that was like a little corner shelf that you put in a corner with three shelves on it, and then there was a little couch, a single chair, and um 4 foot, 3 foot, whatever mirror. And then so I was like, oh wow. And there was no carpet. It was hardwood floors, which is super duper hard to find in Atlanta. A place that's completely floor and not nasty, dirty ass carpet. I fucking hate carpet. Like, you hardly find any places in New York that has carpet. Everything is hardwood. If it's not hardwood, it's ceramic tiles or both. Over here is nasty ass carpet and hardwood, and that's it. You'll be lucky if you could find hardwood and tile over here. And there was a ceiling fan. I don't use ceiling fans because I have a dust allergy and them shits swirl around dust. But I did use the light portion, and it was a really nice place. Like, I had really liked it. There was two fridges in the kitchen. It was a nice size, comfortable kitchen. There was three other female roommates. There was a bathroom that was a decent size. The bathroom had a heater that you could turn on. It had a fan you could turn on, and then there was a cubby in there for if you want to put your stuff. The guy said he provides laundry detergent, soap detergent. There's a washer and dryer inside. There's two fridges. One fridge for two females. So there was two. And there's cabinet space, whatever. And if you wanted to smoke in the side, there's two pills on the side of the house. Outside, there's a sitting area, two sitting areas where you can smoke outside if you want to smoke cigarettes, or if you're going to smoke your weed, you can smoke out there. But there's a lot of bugs, like a lot of fucking bugs, because of them fucking cheese and shit. And what else? So I signed what I thought was a lease. Paid the guy the money the next day, saying I was able to move in the next day because I was ready to get away from them people. And it seemed like a good deal. I unpacked. I got comfortable. The guy gave me the Wi-Fi code. I had my own personal entrance to get in the house. I had a lock for my door with a key. He took me to the supermarket so I can buy my groceries or whatever. Cause the Kroger and the Walmart was a ways away because there was nothing over where we lived besides Mosley Park and Westlake train station. That was it, and two gas stations, and that's it. So it was nice. I stayed there for 4 weeks. I paid him for 3 weeks because when I was supposed to give him the fourth payment, I had told him I get my first paycheck on a Monday, which was the 16th of May. And before that happened, the Friday before the 16th, I would say that would be Friday the 13th. When I came home from work, it was about 8 o'clock. And beforehand, he had called me around 6 something, kept calling me at my job. Since I'm in the airport, you're not allowed to use your phone. So I answered when I wasn't able to get away, and I called him back and I asked him what happened, and he was like, "Oh well, by the time you get home, if you're leaving now, whatever, you might still find the water and the electricity turned off because something happened in the house and I had to turn it off or whatever." I was like, "But we're working on it." I was like, "Okay, fine." So I'm just thinking it's like a little issue that him and his handyman is gonna fix or whatever. When I get home and my friend dropped me, and we went to go get some stuff, and we came back. No, I kid you not. A minute and a half later, the police show up in front of the house, and the officer, she was like, "Oh, do you live here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but I just got home, so I don't know what's going on. You could knock on the back door, and one of my roommates would answer." So she knocked on the back door, And so my roommate answered. My roommate and her were talking, and then I see Georgia Power come. When Georgia Power come, he comes to the car also, asks us if we live there. I told him I lived here. He can go speak to the girl who's talking to the police officer. So when they come back, the girl comes to me and was like, "Oh well, that was Mr. Ken who did that. That was Ken who did that. He didn't. He was mad because of the fact that I was 2 weeks late on my rent, and so what he went and did, he removed the meter off the side of the house, and he turned off the water." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Like, why? It's just how much did you have to pay him back?" She was like, "Only $200, but I had half the money with me today, and I tried to give it to him, and he wouldn't take it." And I'm like, "This makes no sense to me." And then she shows me the text messages, and he told her that if she's not out by the night, he's gonna board up the house. And I'm like, "What? Board up the house?" So me, being the person that I am, I called him right then and there, and I said, "What's this I hear about you boarding up the house tomorrow?" He was like, "Oh, I'm gonna put you in a hotel. Don't worry about it. Blah 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 blah." And I'm like, "You cannot do that. I have work tomorrow, and none of the extended stays over here are by the train, and I need to get to the train to get to work." "Oh, I'll figure it out. Whatever, whatever." And I'm like, "Okay." And then I was went back to the girl, and I'm like, "Did you tell him that you was gonna give him the money? Like, are you sure?" And she was like, "Yeah, I had the money in my hand. I had a $50 Western Union check, and I had the freaking $50 in cash." And I was told him I can give him the rest on Monday. And I'm like, "Okay." He knows I'm paying him Monday because that's when I get paid. And I told him that from the jump. And we had agreed upon that. And she was like, "If he can wait for you, why could I don't understand why he couldn't just wait for me for $100? It's like it's not that serious." And I'm like, "It's really not that serious to be turning everything off." And then so Georgia Power went and put a new meter. Her boyfriend later on that night, around 1 o'clock in the morning, he went and was able to turn the water on. And then from there, it just kept getting worse. The next day, I come home from work. There's signs on the doors, except for mine, on everyone's door except for mine, even on the back door except for mine, saying 2 week notice. Everyone must be out. No, 2 week notice. House will be closed May 23rd. And I'm like, today's the 14th. That's not 2 weeks. That's like 9 days. So this nigga is stupid as shit. Like, you don't know what 2 weeks is? That's 14 days. Like, you're an idiot. And it turns out he didn't even own the place because the girl showed me the fake lease that he gave her. And that's what a lot of landlords will do out here, from what I've been told. They'll write up a lease, pretend it's like a real legitimate lease, not have it notarized, and will think that you have to submit to their will, and it's not the case. Like him, he was just like had some god complex type shit. Like I guess that's why he only dealt with females, because niggas pussy. Like you're pussy because you think you can get away with it because you're dealing with females and you're finding females who's in emergency situations. Because he told me he only answered to cries of help. If you're answering to cries of help, why would you do people dirty? Like, you know, you're finding people in some way, shape, or form a fucked up situation. You should, and you want to say that you have no mercy for people. If you have no mercy for people, why would you even take people who's in some way, shape, or form a fucked up situation? You know things will be a little bit hard for them. So Sunday, I had my father call him because I was like, everything keeps changing. And then because Sunday, when I woke up for work, I noticed that there was no coffee pot. which of course he provided. That I didn't care about because I make instant coffee anyway. So I had my dad call him, and I was like, because I still haven't gone to no hotel and I still haven't seen the man. So I had my dad call him, and the guy went and told my dad that he was gonna put me in a hotel, whatever, whatever. That shit never happened. He never even came to get me from work. Nothing. So Monday, he calls me and wakes me up in the morning. That was my off day, and said, "Oh, I'm sorry to tell you this, but even you have to leave come this Friday." I said, "What happened to the 23rd?" He was like, "No, I'm pushing it up to Friday. You don't have to pay. You don't have to give me the money for this week or next week. I'm selling the house because one of you stole the other lady's stuff." And I'm like, I was at work. The other lady, no one has access to her room, and then the other girl of the other three, one of them was kicked out that Thursday. So it's only two other people. It was only two people in the house because the lady was out of town, whose stuff got stolen. And I told him I was at work, and the other lady, she stayed in her room, so I highly doubt she touched anything. And on top of that, she's pregnant, so she's not taking nobody's pills. And he was like, "Oh, she's pregnant," and I'm like, yeah. Like, did you not see her stomach, even through her robe? Like, she's this big with a bump sticking out of her stomach. Clearly, she's not fat, and she's still skinny. And then so Monday, that's what he told me. I was very, very upset because it's like I got put in a horrible situation again. When I came home because I went out to go pick up my check. When I came home, there was no microwave and there was no shower curtain. Tuesday, I'm home. I didn't go anywhere because I wanted to like see what other fuck shit he would do. So what he did, he came to the house and he had an appraiser or real estate person, whatever the fuck she was, come to the house. She wanted to look at my room. I had a nigga in my room. I had a dude in my room. He thank God for that little side room because he sat on the couch because she didn't really come in my room like that because it looked like I just woke up. And then he numbered the doors with a marker. And then so he took the microwave. There was no microwave. He took the shower curtain. There was no shower curtain. He took the coffee pot. There was no coffee pot. And then he told me he was going to take the washer and dryer. But then I guess he realized that he couldn't because they were too big. So what he did, he started messing with stuff in the house. Like, he started messing with stuff. He started locking stuff. He started hiding stuff. And then Wednesday, I had to go to work again. And I was like, oh boy, what am I going to come home to? When I got home, no, that's not how it happened. When I was at work, he called me again while I was at work. And he knew I was at work. I answered because he caught me while I was on break. And he was like, oh, you're going to have to use the back door from now on. I'm like, why? I don't have no key for the back door. Like, why would you make my life harder? Like, you already took stuff out the house. Why am I not able to use my key to get in? And he was like, oh, don't worry about it. I'll find a way for you to get in. So when I get home, I called the girl because I got dropped off again. And the girl told me, oh, there's no back door. Come and look if you're already here. And I'm like, so I met her at the door. And I see there's a screen door with no locks on it and no back door. It's just, you could see inside the back of the house. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, seriously? Are you kidding me? Like, that's when, like, the fuse of my anger started to spark, and it was like the lighter was going like this. It was going like this. It was trying to light the wick, but it wasn't there yet. Mind you, there's a foreclosed house next door that got that got split in half by a tree. The other house next door is home to some, excuse me, home to some crackheads. And the other people who live across the street, they're also crackheads, but they just so happen to still live in nice houses and function normally or whatever. But they be in and out at night. So I'm like, okay, this man put our lives in danger because we can't close our back door, and the back door was there for our safety. Now we have no safety, and anyone could just go in the fridges, steal whatever's in the kit of ours that's in the kitchen. Because he took all his shit. He took everything. Like there's none of his shit out there except for a sponge, and so it was like maybe like $500 worth of food combined in that fridge and the cabinets and stuff. Maybe $500-600 worth of food, and I couldn't sleep that night. And I had work the next day, and I couldn't sleep the night. So in the morning, and then in the nighttime, later on, I need to use the bathroom. I went in the bathroom, and if you saw the toilet, you would have been pissed yourself if you came home and later on you need to use the bathroom and you see that your toilet is broken. And when I say broken, you know, like how when there's too much toilet paper in the drain and it's not flushing right and the water just keep raising up. It was like that because I saw pieces of paper in the toilet. But turns out he blocked it from another way because it wasn't from the thing, and he took the plunger so you couldn't even try to attempt to fix it. So I had to go take a piss in the back of the house outside. I was so pissed because it's like I live in a house, not a tent in the woods camping. I'm in the house, and I had to go take a piss in the grass, like really. So the next morning, took a shower. As I was getting ready, something in me just snapped. I don't know if it was because of the lack of sleep, but something in me snapped. So what I did, I just kept flushing the toilet, flushing it, seeing the water spill out onto the floor, see the water spilling out onto the floor, and I just kept doing it about maybe like 5-6 times till like there was a big puddle in the floor. And then I texted him and I said, "There's a flood in your bathroom." He answered about an hour later saying, "What happened to the bathroom?" And I'm like, "Whatever you did to the bathroom." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" Fuse was lit. Fuse was lit. Because you know exactly what you did to the bathroom, but you want to play stupid. So I said, whatever the fuck you did to the motherfucking toilet is what happened to the motherfucking bathroom, because of the fact that you want to be a fucking nigga bitch and act like you got a vagina between your legs and be a fucking pussy and act like a fucking cunt. Sorry for the language and stuff. So he kept trying to play stupid, like as if he didn't know what was going on or like what I'm doing. I said, I feel sorry for your wife that she's married to a man with a vagina between his legs. And I feel sorry for your kids because you're not a good person and karma's a bitch. And you're doing this to innocent people. And on top of that, one of them is pregnant. The stress you're causing in this house, if she was to lose her baby, God forbid, you know how much hell you will be given for that. And you're about to be sued by 3 different people. You're about to be sued by 3 different people because of the actions you decided to take that you did not need to take. All you had to do was say, okay, I want this one person gone. That person has to be gone by that certain time. Get a real eviction notice. Get that person out. And leave everybody and everything else in the house alone. Because if you have 2 people paying you on time with no hesitation in full amount, and you have one person not paying you, why would you make all three people suffer for no reason? Because it went from being in a pretty much a perfect situation to being in a completely fucked up situation in a matter of an instant, because everything had started in one day. It was 3 weeks of peace, and everything was nice, fine and dandy, comfortable. It only took me less, it took me 30, 40 minutes max, depending on what time it was, to get to work. It was very easy. I didn't have to worry about a bus, nothing like that. I just take 2 trains, short ride, and that was it. To now, I'm living in a better place, but now I'm scarred. Like, I haven't even unpacked my things yet, and today makes 2 weeks that I've lived here. Well, yeah, today, June 2nd, makes 2 weeks that I've lived here, and I still haven't unpacked yet because of what happened in the other two places. Like, I'm not, like, just in case I have to just up and go because of whatever reason, that the person who I'm roommating with, because this is his house, whatever, if he decides out of nowhere that he didn't want a roommate anymore, he could just kick me out. Yeah, he can give me like a 2 week notice or whatever. Like, he said he'll do that, but if I was to move out, I have to give him a 30-day notice or whatever, so he could do whatever bullshit he has to do. But you have to be careful. You have to watch out for these landlords. Make sure you ask all the right questions, because that was a mistake I didn't do, because I wasn't expecting to go through what I went through. And please learn from my mistake of when I first got here. Like, make sure if you're gonna get a job out here, make sure you're getting at least $10 an hour, because this $7.25 an hour paychecks, they're nothing, especially if you have no children. That tax is a bitch. Like, I got paid less on my second paycheck than I did on my first. And I did pretty much, I did the same amount of hours except the training part. And it didn't even touch $400 for either checks. So please get a job that pays no less than $10 an hour for like your main job. If you're gonna get a second job, which is something I would say about like 70% of the people here do, like if they don't have like a really really good job, or if they're just like greedy for money, they get a second job. Like, my roommate, he has a house and he's still looking for a second job, even though his main job pays for whatever he needs. And people are very selfish out here. I can definitely attest to that. Like, I have my best friend who lives here, and it completely changed her living here. Like, besides the fact that I could barely recognize her on the outside, I can barely recognize her on the inside too. And our friendship is pretty much coming to an end pretty soon, because I can already feel it. And the guy who I was talking to out here, he's the most selfish man I had ever met in my life. He was so self-centered to the point, like, when I was going between this place and that place, it was like a different. I was supposed to move in here on a Friday, but I had to leave on a Thursday. And I asked him, because I knew he had a townhome with 2 bedrooms in it, and I told him, I was like, it's an emergency. Can I please stay with you for one night until my place is ready tomorrow? Dude told me flat out no. Mind you, since I've been here, I only saw him twice. And I was here for more than a month, and I only saw him twice. He kept saying it was work in school, but I know people who's worked 2 jobs and went to school full time. Well, not full time, part time. And if someone cares about you, they will make time for you. Like, I couldn't even get this dude to like really call me like that. Like, spoke to him on the phone a few times. Saw him the first day I came here. Didn't see him for like for a month and change. And it took me putting an ad on Craigslist saying that I'm looking to replace him for him to even want to come see me the next day, because of the fact that he felt betrayed and offended. And I'm like, well, I feel neglected. Like, you only hit me up when you want to tell me that how you wish you could feel whatever, whatever, whatever. But you know that wasn't gonna happen because, like, dude, you never even took me out on a date. I've hung out with you twice. I Before the third time that I saw you, you hit me up, but in between times it takes you like a million years to contact me back. And he was a very selfish person. There was one time I got stranded at the Georgia Convention Center over in College Park. Didn't know where I was going. Only had a $20 bill on me. I had no way of getting to the train. Nowhere. I couldn't call a cab because I was going too far to go back to the hotel, and I didn't have a credit card or a debit or a bank card. I only had a debit card, of which I couldn't find at the time. And so I told him, I was like, listen, I'm stranded. Is there any way you could come and get me? He said, no. Walk till you find the train. And I was like, okay. And he was like, oh, just to be careful, because there's a lot of working women there. The guys on the side of on the street might see you walking and think you're giving out blowjobs. Like, who says that to someone who they consider their girl? And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm not giving out blowjobs, nor am I walking. I'm gonna find me a way to get back to the place where I'm staying. And so thank God I had a friend who was able to put me in an Uber. And a time before that, I told him I knew nothing about over here, and where I was, there was no train stations. And because he's mentioned he could get me a MARTA card, which is a public transportation for over here. He'll give me a card for them. Never did it. But he wanted me to send him pictures. He wanted me to show him pictures of food that I've made for my family before. He's told me all this bullshit, like, but he wanted me to help him find a house, but he wouldn't even let me stay at his place for a day. He wanted me to help him find a brand new motorcycle for himself, but couldn't even help me like get around anywhere. Didn't even pick me up from the train station, knowing for 2 weeks, which is an ample amount of time to contact your job and tell them, listen, I'm coming in a little bit late on such and such day because the girl who I am pursuing is coming from New York, and she has no one here. She doesn't know anyone here. Is it okay that I take the day off or take a half a day off or whatever? And if it was someone that I claimed I cared about, best believe I will be calling my job and ahead of time and telling them, hey, someone I care about is coming in from out of town and they don't know over here. I'm just going to help them get to the place where they're staying at. It's not going to take all day for you to drive for about 20-25 minutes to somewhere that's closer to your house. Because I purposely looked for a place that was close to him because of the fact that I knew he didn't like driving. Because I did not want to hear him bitch about him having to drive to come see me. or whatever. And those other people I met out here, they'll ask you to help them. They want to know your business. They're nosy as shit. But when it comes to their business, they're barely going to tell you anything. When it comes to you asking them for a favor in return, they're not going to help you at all. And they're so fucking rude down here. Like, they want to say New Yorkers is mean and rude and shit. There's no southern hospitality in Georgia. There's pretty much nothing. I've met, in the short time I've been here, I don't know, it's because they say real, recognize real. I haven't recognized anybody. Like, I haven't met anyone genuine. And I know it's still early, but I think, no, I'm lying. I've met one person who's genuine out of the thousands of people I see a day. Like, even with coworkers, I see dozens and dozens of coworkers every day. But I've met no one genuine. And I know it's still early, so I'm like, okay, whatever, whatever. But you can just tell by people's mannerisms and how they act and what they deem important and stuff like that. Like, a lot of people, they're like, oh, I'm about that money, I'm about that money, I'm about that money. Like, as if there's nothing more to life about money than money. Like, there's stuff to do out here, but if you're a young person who doesn't have a car, it is not fun out here. I've been bored pretty much the entire time I've been here in Atlanta. The first time, I've only been out like maybe 3 times. I've been to my best friend's house before, but all they did was smoke weed, drink liquor, and gossip. Like, that's some boring shit. Like, and a lot of people out here, then weed out here is more expensive than in New York. If you're coming from New York and you're used to buying $5 bags and getting a good amount for $5, even for some sour, like, if you like, and they call sour gas, anything that's like high grade, like exotics. They don't call exotics exotics. They call it gas. Anything that's strong and has a strong smell, they call it gas. Anything that doesn't have a strong smell, that will still get you fucked up though, they call it midget or mid grade. There's no such thing as greens. That's just what it is. You'll find more of these cigarellos. Might not find a big pack like this, but you'll definitely find more cigarellos than wraps if that's what you're into. Liquor is maybe a couple dollars cheaper than New York. I'll just say a few dollars, like maybe like on average I'll say $3 cheaper. Rent is not cheap. 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 If you're coming from a place where you had to pay $1,200 for a 2-bedroom, you would definitely find places in Atlanta, Georgia, specifically Midtown and the northern side. You will be paying that much for a 2-bedroom apartment. On the places that are not, you'll find for like $600 a 1-bedroom. It's not the 3-4 touching 500 and change a little bit. It's not really like that. It's hard to find those because it took me a week after I moved here to Decatur to find a place near the airport that was under $500 for 1-bedroom. And if you work for the airport, there's a discount. If you plan on working for the airport with Delta or whatever, there are certain places in the College Park area, Riverdale area, Southside Atlanta area that cater to people who work for the airport. That will give you some type of discount. But everywhere else, rooms, even, oh my god, rooms. You can look on Craigslist and find and see for yourself. I seen someone renting out a basement, an entire basement, as an apartment for $1,200, and that's a basement. And there's apartment complexes where, oh, they'll be like, oh, it's only like 500 to for rent, but the first to move in is 300, but the application fee is $25. There's a background slash credit check thing based on your credit score is how much you would have to pay, which would be between $200 and $500, and that's plus your deposit, which is full price, plus the moving. So that's like $825, maybe $1,000. Yeah, like 800 and change to 1,000 and change, depending on your credit score. And then there's other places, same scenario, and they want you to have, if you want a good place, like they ask you for work history, you have to have at least 6 months of work history. In general, you have to have two pay stubs, you have to have a proof of income, and there are people out here who fake pay stubs. You can find them on Craigslist. They'll have the things there saying that to pay for stubs. That's how a lot of people down here get their apartments if they haven't been here that long. And and yeah, they're like, apartments are like 500, and I would say 560 and up, 560 and up, like up, like up, like, and these are unfurnished places. So imagine furnished places, it would be like maybe like $100 more and up. So ask questions. Um, Rent. Don't come here with a low amount of money. It's not gonna work out for you. Because a lot of people find themselves here, like from what I've noticed, they'll find themselves in an extended stay. Think, oh well, I can, if I can't get a room or an apartment when I move in, I can get an extend. I can go to an extended stay. Don't do it. An extended stay, most of them, there's only one that I saw that was under $200. It was two that I saw under $200. But the one that's in Jonesboro, that's 112 a week. Do not go there, please. If you value your life and you value your stuff in some way, shape, or form, do not go there. There's another one in, I believe, the College Park, Union City area called the Pembroke. They're 150 a week if you can get in. And everything else says $203 or $210 or whatever. And then there's like a $50 tax plus a deposit. And you're, on average, you're spending $300. Closer to $300 or $300. And that's a week. A week. So, like, I remember there was this guy telling me that he was paying $283 a week, and he's been there a month. He's paid 1,000 and change, where he could have been in an apartment for the same amount of money. It's just he didn't have it all at one time. And the public transportation here, the buses on average run once every 30 minutes from 5 a.m. to about, at latest, 1 maybe 2 o'clock in the morning. Trains, they run okay. They're pretty often until it's like nighttime, and then it's like every 20 minutes, which is normal. But when you pay for your Breeze card to use as a way of getting around, the card itself is $2, and a weekly is $23.75. They do individual days, like if you want 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 5 days. They do it like that also. And and yeah, it's pretty. It's like not as expensive as New York by like a quarter because each fare is 250 and New York is 275. There, unless you found yourself in a good spot, things are not really convenient. Like where I am right now, I have woods across the street from my house, and everything is like a mile away. I haven't done food shopping since I moved here because it's like I have no way of getting there, which is like the main thing. Like I have no way of getting there because I don't drive and I don't have my license. There are a few places in the city, from what I was told, but that are far out where you can do the same day road test. But most likely you're waiting like 2-3 weeks. I'm waiting 3 weeks to take mine over on the 21st. So yeah, this is my experience so far. I don't like it here at all. Like I don't like. I like my job for the most part because I get to help people and I get to meet new people every day. But if you're from New York City, there's a chance you're gonna want to go back because, especially if you're like from the part of New York City or any major city where everything, no matter where you live at, is within walking distance. Cause, excuse me. Cause where I'm from Brooklyn, East New York, and there was a train station 2 blocks away, a supermarket around the corner, 2 fast food joints on my block. There was a Caribbean spot that actually made real Caribbean food and it tasted pretty damn good. There was a Dominican spot, another Dominican spot, another Dominican spot, a laundromat, 3 laundromats, no, 4 laundromats, a dry cleaners, a few barber shops, a Family Dollar, a McDonald's, a Wendy's, a White Castle, a Dunkin' Donuts, elementary schools close by within walking distance, bus stops on every other block, on both sides of the street, um, a big park, cemeteries, and oh, another thing was, speaking of cemeteries, the funeral home business. I suggest if you want to make some bread down here, become either a, in the medical field or a mortician. I would say mortician because if you see the funeral homes out here, like there's this one really really nice funeral home, and it looks like a mini mansion, and it has like a fleet of hearses, like about 5-6 hearses, and it's a very ornate house looking place, and that's not the first one I've seen quite a few that's like that. So I suggest mortuary business if you're not squeamish. And but yeah, like there's a lot of people who are homeless here. That was like one of the things that broke my heart coming here, is seeing people on the side of the road camped out, laying in the shade or sitting in the heat with all their stuff. There's just so many homeless people out here. Like I thought there was a lot of homeless people in New York. Atlanta, for a city that is about 1/3 of the size of New York, as far as population goes, there's a lot. There's a lot of homeless people here. There's a lot, especially in the Midtown area, by the infamous Magic City strip club. And by the Greyhound station, which is another thing I suggest you not take to come here, is a lot of homeless people. There's a lot of prostitutes. There's a lot of homeless people. There's a lot of drug addicts. There's a lot of drunkards. And you see people sitting on the windows of stores, on the ledge, sitting down, legs crossed, head bent down, with their bags next to them or bag behind them, sleeping. You find women with their children, either with their boyfriend still or husband, whatever, but they're wandering the streets or they're in the parks, homeless. And some people try to say, "Oh, well, they want to stay like that. They want to be like that. They rather live on the streets in the summertime than be in a house." And I'm like, that makes no sense. Like, why would you purposely leave a comfortable situation just to be on the streets begging people for stuff, or be on the streets looking glum and miserable? Like, no one in their right mind would do that on purpose for no reason, just to do it every year. Like, oh, excuse me, I'm tired. It's 12 a.m. After 12 a.m. over here, so it's the third now, and like the shelter system is not that great, and like it's just bad. Like, it's just really bad. And they want to talk about how New York has big rats. Go to 5 Points in Atlanta and sit by this infamous place called the Underground. Just sit outside for about 30 minutes. Even just you're just hanging with a friend, talking and stuff. Sit outside for 30 minutes. You'll see rats playing hide and go seek with each other. Rats this big. And I'm not talking about the tail either. Just the rat this big. So I wouldn't recommend coming down here. I'm giving myself till April of next year, and then I'm off to Arizona. I've done my research on Arizona. Like, I'm gonna make sure I'm prepared. But yeah, this is my first almost 2 months down here, and I wanted to vlog it. I know this vlog is like super duper long. It's an hour and about 20 minutes so far, but I just had a lot of stuff to get off my chest because I don't have anyone to talk to for the most part. Like, I'm pretty alone out here, so I'm just using this as a way to vent, but also to give a heed to. And whether you're male or female or transgendered, gay, straight, bisexual, pansexual, over here still pretty closed-minded. There's still a lot of ignorant people out here. So if you're a culturally, socialistically awake person, this might not really be the place for you like that. It can be, but it can't be at the same time. Like, I'm kind of struggling out here with that because it's like you stay running into ignorant people in some way, shape, or form. Like, somebody threatened me the other day saying that I had a smart mouth and my smart mouth is gonna get me shot because of the fact that some guy said some stupid shit to me, and I told him what he said to me had nothing to do with what I asked him, because I was asking him for directions, and he was telling me some completely other shit, saying that I looked like somebody he knew, and I'm like, I don't look like nobody. I'm from New York. I just moved down here. Like, I don't know anything about here, and I don't know anyone in New York, and I'm not American. So, and the dude was like, oh, I need to watch my mouth or I'm gonna get shot. First off, pussies need gun. Almost everybody down here got a weapon because there's so many pussy people out here. Like, yes, people throw their hands, but you find more people wanting to shoot or carry a gun or keep some type of weapon. There's women who are out here walking around with brass knuckles and tasers and pistols and knives and switchblades and all this extra bullshit because of jealousy or because of infidelity and all this other petty bullshit. Like, it's mostly petty bullshit. Like, don't. Another important thing I have to say, if you have no insurance, unless you're dying, quite literally, do not go to Grady Hospital, please. Do not go. If you're not under some type of trauma, do not go to that hospital. Grady Memorial Hospital is the worst emergency room hospital I have ever been to in my life. I waited 18 hours to get seen for two. Excuse me. I waited 18 hours to get seen for 2 hours on a Monday because of the lack of faculty. They said they only had one doctor in the emergency room. And I'm like, if you know you're a busy hospital and you're the hospital that a majority of the people in the intercity go to, why would you only have one doctor? There was about 70 people in the outside waiting room and about another, I would say another 80, 90 people on the inside waiting to get seen. I was just waiting on blood results. 18 hours. And that is ridiculous. And that is uncalled for. I will say this, and I might get reported for this, but the mayor doesn't care about this city whatsoever. All he cares about is making the celebrities happy. All he cares about is his little airport that doesn't need to get any bigger. It's already big enough because, trust me, it's big enough. Like, I've done 21,000 steps in that airport in a single day. Like, and I know there's coworkers of mine who's done more. And he only cares about this new stupid stadium that's coming. That's pretty much right next to the other stadium that's already been built. That was built for the Olympics way back when. And now he's building another one. And he's doing some type of construction on some of the roads. But you have all these people suffering. And you have all these people struggling. Like, there's no reason why in a place where the rent is under $1,000, why people need to work 2-3 jobs to make ends meet. If anything, the economy should be better than places where people have to spend more on the cost of living. And what I've noticed, even when I visited Florida before, New York is cheaper. They want to say New York is expensive, but when it comes to everything else, New York is cheaper. Like, you could get your nails done for 15, like 10 to 15 to $20. You could get your hair done, like a shampoo, condition, rollers, sitting under the dryer, blow dry, and possibly a flat iron for $20, 20, $25. It all depends on the length of your hair. But if you're like, your natural hair is like this long, $20 you're spending for 2 hours being spent in a salon. To get braids done by the Africans, you're spending under $200. And yeah, you're spending time in there though, but furniture is affordable. People in New York, they don't finance nothing. Like I've never met in my life until I came here to Georgia anyone who's ever had to finance furniture. Like, my mom's bought. I've seen my mom buy furniture dozens of times. Like, not dozens, but I've seen her buy it quite a couple of times. And I had a beautiful bed back home in New York that had a cushion headboard, queen size bed. It was a tall bed. It only cost her $500. She paid it all straight up. Couches, any type of furniture people get in New York, they don't finance it. I've never met a person who has to finance anything. I never met a person who's ever had to pay a car note, except for when my sister, who lived in Florida at the time, told me she has a car note. Um, Cars are cheaper in New York, that's for sure. Um, the pay is better in New York. Minimum wage is $9 in New York right now, while it's $7.25 here in Georgia. I'm honestly regretting coming here, even though it was my time to leave the nest and it was my time to finally like venture off into my own. I kind of wish I waited a little longer, like maybe till like maybe September of this year, because coming down here with $300 and not really knowing what was out here and just taking a leap of faith. Like, I'm happy I made the decision to go, but I didn't. I'm not happy with the decision on where. I wanted to be in Arizona, but my pockets couldn't afford a plane ticket to go there. So I was like, okay, let me like, I don't have $600 to take a plane over there. Let me just like spend 150 for the Amtrak, go to Atlanta, get my feet wet, get a little bit stabilized. Like, I knew it was gonna be hard, but I did not expect this type of stuff. Like, because I've watched the videos on here and I've seen what people go through to come here when they move here, but I guess everyone goes through, it's like what my sister says, everyone has their own journey. This is just mine, and I felt the need to tell everyone. And I know this is a super long video, hour and 30 minutes, but you'll skip through. You'll skim, hear what you need to hear, but don't forget to ask questions. Make sure you see how the place looks first. Visit the place. Make sure you have at least 2 jobs that are potential line that you could potentially have, whether one works out or not. And make sure you know someone down here. Like, I came here, I knew one person, but it was honestly not enough. Like, everyone who I run in, who's heard of my story of me coming down here by myself, they say you shouldn't have done that. You should have at least known a couple people coming down here. I was like, well, I know 1 or 2 people, but neither one of them were dependable. Like, neither one of them I can depend on for anything. Like, if push comes to shove and something happens to you. But yeah, like, make sure like you have someone dependable down here if you are gonna come out here. And if you're gonna be rooming with someone, make sure you ask all the questions dealing with the space, the precautions, how things run, how things go. Just be very, very cautious when coming down here, as with anywhere else, and try to make the most of the situation that you put yourself in, and just live life. And definitely, if you don't have a car or don't have a driver's license, use Uber.